Hello, welcome to AEC Unplugged. I am so excited to be here. I am your host, Danielle Gray. Welcome to the premiere episode. This is exciting. I have a little butterflies today. So before we get into the episode, I think it's important to talk about, introduce myself as your host, but also to talk about why AEC Unplugged. Where did this come from? And just talk about all of the behind the scenes of what made this, how this came to be. And then we're going to get into our episode. So, a little background about me. I have been around SMPS as a speaker since 2017. Some of you, I may have run into some of you at some point talking about content in some respect, from chapter level to regional to some national things as well, or I should say, just society overall. So, my background has been in speaking, and then fast forward as of April 1st, 2024, I joined the SMPS HQ team as the Director of Content and Knowledge Resources. Talk about alignment. So, I am excited to be serving in that capacity for the society. And so, that relates to why AEC Unplugged, it's a bit of a passion project that has really formed this really great opportunity in this platform. So, what we are here to do is to talk to thought leaders, hear insight, strategies, where the X's and O's of the AEC marketing and business development world, but also to get to know each other. I think that as marketers and BD people, and I'll say AEC growth professionals, it's important for us to have relationships. And I think there's nothing more, especially as it relates to all the things going on with AI, it's important for us to have that human touch. So that's what we are here to do, which hence the unplugged, right? So this season, we are going to be leading up to Amplify AEC, which is the society. Annual conference that's going to be taking place in Salt Lake City. So, as we lead up, we'll be talking to speakers, we'll be talking to all types of people, but this particular episode is great. So we are going to be discussing revolutionizing AEC marketing. Okay, so we have some great people on today. We're going to be talking about marketing leadership, emails, which I think is always an interesting conversation. I can't wait to talk about that. And also design and how we can use this to move not just our firms forward, but overall the industry forward. So, with that being said, I'm ready to bring on our first guest. So, I'm going to do a little bit of introduction for you, Gabe. I know you jumped on here. So, our first guest is a senior marketing specialist at Algeyer Martin and Associates, and is the author of the AEC Professionals Guidebook. This Ozarks past president is an SMPS fellow that helps civil engineers find right clients and projects for the maximum mutual benefit. He is revolutionizing marketing by the way he approaches marketing leadership. I'd like to welcome Gabe Lett to AEC Unplugged. Welcome, Gabe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Danielle. I'm really, really happy to be having this conversation with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you, and I hear that this is your first LinkedIn Live, so I'm glad that we could do this together.
Yeah, we'll see if I ever want to do one again. So we'll figure that out.
That's all right. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So far, so good. So, before we talk about your approach to marketing leadership, which I think is really interesting, and I'm looking forward to digging in on that, tell me more about your story. I'm curious about your humble career beginning. So, especially as it relates to the AEC industry. Everybody has a different story about how they found AEC. So, how did the AEC industry find you?
Yeah, I this is always a good story both to listen to from other people how they've entered and I think my story is a little bit interesting. So I actually started working on a land survey cruise when I was a teenager. And my entry to that was my dad is a civil engineer and he owned his own small engineering company here in Joplin. And so my every day or every summer, I would just work for the land surveying cruise. So that was kind of my really early introduction into the AEC space. was through that. And then I didn't decide to go into that as a career. I wasn't interested in engineering or surveying. So actually, my first career was in vocational Christian ministry and counseling. And that's where I actually started right out of college. But then I shifted to doing some marketing tasks for my dad's firm back in the mid 2000s. And that actually ended up leading into a complete career shift in 2009 and became a permanent career change for me where I started marketing full time for his firm. And I have not looked back since. So, love this career, love this job, and really happy I made that decision.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that. As you know, the how you've gotten to where you are now. Let's talk about the heart of marketing leadership. I thought this was just so profound. The way I've never heard it, being described as that. Can you define that for us? What the heart of marketing leadership is?
Yeah, and I think the emphasis on that phrase is the word heart.
Hmm.
I think that's what gets your attention and probably gets other people's attention. It's like, well, what is the heart
Right.
of marketing leadership? And if we think about it, our heart is really the seat of our emotions and our experience. It's how we experience the world, and it's how we experience other people, and all the emotions that go with that, both negative and positive emotions. And so when we talk about the heart of marketing leadership, it's really getting to how others feel when they
Mhm.
work with you. What do others experience when they're working with you? And what do you want other people to feel or experience when they're working with you? And so, when we're talking about the heart of marketing leadership, we're talking about leading from a position of making sure that you're making good emotional connections with the people who are relying on your work to get their work, relying on your expertise and your innovation to be able to propel their firms forward and continue making money and growing. So, the heart of that is how people experience us and what they feel like when they experience us.
I love that. There's so many nuggets there, and I hope that you all have got some of that because I'm really interested to learn more. So, especially as it relates to getting to know how you're coming off, I think a big part of that is self-awareness,
Sure.
and I think that that's the human part, and that's why I always, the heart. AI doesn't have a heart, right?
Right.
Humans do, and I think that that's why this is so important. So you're going to be speaking at Amplify AEC. So tell us more about, you've kind of given us the definition. What can people expect at your in your session at Amplify AEC?
Well, I think anybody who may attend my session, I want them to learn how they can emotionally connect with their colleagues. That's the bottom line. I just want them to be able to walk out of the room after that. I guess it's probably 45, 60 minutes, really having a good handle and a plan on how they connect emotionally with the people that they're working with every day. And so there's some key interpersonal skills that have to be practiced for others to experience you in a positive way. Um, and everyone can think of people in their lives who make them feel special, who make them feel valued, who make them feel needed. And if we think about those people, what is it about those people that make us feel that way about ourselves? When you have those interactions, how do you know when someone's valuing you, or how do you know when someone's um, making you feel special? Well, that's what we want to focus our time on together at Amplify AC. We want to become the kind of people that others would say, that person makes me feel valued, that person makes me feel special and needed. And so that's what I'm hoping that the attendees will be able to walk away with, is some real practical ways of practicing some skills to make sure that they're those kind of people.
Oh, that's great. And I think that there's been so much discussion about making sure that we maintain our marketers and maintain our people. And so I think a big part of that is making sure that they feel needed, they feel valued. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. So if you are watching, if you haven't signed up for Amplify AEC, make sure to download the app, sign up for Gabe's session now. That will be amazing. So thank you so much, Gabe, for jumping on with us. We are going to move to our next guest.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Gabe. So let's see. Next, we're going to talk design. Okay. So our next guest is the Associate Employee Owner and Federal Communications Manager for HDR Engineering, Inc. She works closely with more than 500 engineering, architecture, environmental, and construction professionals focused on supporting federal global agencies globally. Over the past 2 decades, her experience has spanned many disciplines and roles, including team communications, graphic design, public relations, client account management, proposal leadership, marketing campaign development, and talent brand management. She is revolutionizing marketing by the way she approaches design. I'd like to welcome Kimberly Robertson to AEC Unplugged. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Absolutely. I mean, that was pretty impressive. That was an impressive start. I wasn't expecting to give you, boom, 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 but the bio was great. The bio was great. So, I asked Gabe this at the beginning, and I'm always so curious about how did you get into AEC? So tell us that. How did you find the AEC industry?
So my story is really fun. I was a military spouse for over 20 years,
Hmm.
and we got restationed to San Antonio, Texas. When I got there, I had just received a graphic design degree. I was really excited. I was going to jump into the design industry. And then I realized that I was not really marketable in that specific market because I was not bilingual. And so instead, I turned to, and this is going to date me a little bit, the newspaper classifieds ad.
Okay. Okay.
I remember this very clearly. It was 4 lines for a marketing assistant who had a little bit of design experience. And lo and behold, it was for an architecture firm. So I jumped in. I was like, okay, I can do this. So my initial role was cleaning up the file system because we all know that is like the worst thing
Yes,
ever,
it is.
and figuring out where photos are and assets and stuff. And then 2 months into the role, the marketing director of that firm left, and it was just me and her at the time. And so that's when, in her last 2 weeks on the job, she introduced me to SMPS and the really, really kind professionals there in San Antonio who really helped me understand the industry and be able to walk into the deep end, and help me not only tread water, but at times I was swimming.
Right.
And then a couple decades later, here I am. So I have to thank SMPS San Antonio folks in particular for just their kindness in introducing me to the industry.
That is awesome. Shout out to SMPS San Antonio. If you're in the chat, say something. I had that same experience with SMPS. I think that you have the online learning, you have all these different pieces, but there is something really special about being connected and being able to talk to people that are dealing with and experiencing the same things you are. So, if you were a non-member, go ahead and I mean, come on, join the SMPS crew. We're cool over here. We're cool over here. Okay. So now let's talk design, Kimberly. So what are some common pitfalls AEC professionals often fall into when designing their materials?
Well, I mean, my background is working with federal agencies, and federal agencies love a good form. They love a page limit. They love Times New Roman font, 12
Mhm.
point,
Oh,
all the ugliest design choices possible, right? But I think what we forget is despite federal agencies or any of our clients, they're humans. And Gabe kind of touched on it before. They have heart. You really have to connect with them. And I think design gives you the opportunity to connect. Um, we often find that we want to shove as many words into a 20-page document as we possibly can. And I mean, they're like pushing the limits. But the reality is, the majority of humans, um, uh, in, they understand information either through visual or through tactile learning, right?
right.
There's fewer people who process information verbally, and so we forget that is actually how the majority of our audience is going to look at a proposal or look at our content. And if there are ways that we can introduce visual keys or visual representations of the text, like infographics, photos, not only are you going to actually connect with the audience a lot stronger, But also, as the audience members are reading through your marketing pieces or your proposals, they need time to breathe and they need time to process. And an image in particular, or layout and white space, provides their eye a chance to rest. And if you give them a chance to rest, they start absorbing your information so much clearer, right? So even typographical hierarchy, things like, putting bold here helps draw their eye to a specific point that you're doing, a call out, an image. All of these things can do so many great things in a 20-page document and can really amplify your choice in what you're saying and your messaging much better than 20 pages of just straight Times New Roman 12-point text.
Right.
So I really think that the biggest thing is, as professionals, we need to be comfortable pushing back on our technical team members and say, I understand you really want to get everything into this document, but could we find a way that maybe we can take this piece here and turn it into something more visual, and explain why, explain the whole point that, you're giving them time to rest, you're giving them time to process, you're really seeking out the way that they absorb information,
Right.
and it gives them time to really think through what your messaging is. And it's going to drive it home so much more than repeating 5 times in your proposal or your marketing.
Yes, that is. There were so many great nuggets that I really hope that our audience grab from that, because you're so right. We're humans. Like, it's not going to a robot. Our proposals are not going there, even though we think about it, especially as it relates to federal, right? But there is a place for design. And so you're actually leading the Amplify AEC Pre-Con Tech
Yeah.
Tools and InDesign and Photoshop. And that's going to be on Wednesday. So the opening program is going to be Wednesday afternoon. You're going to be talking and leading this workshop beforehand. Tell us who needs to be in this workshop. What are they challenged by? Who's the best person to be able to attend this workshop?
So this workshop's perfect for somebody who is self-taught. A lot of marketing professionals learned InDesign and Photoshop on the fly, or were not given a very formal education on it. And that's fantastic, because this gives me a way to really answer those questions. It came out of this idea where I was just showing somebody on screen one day, hey, and don't forget, you can do your spell check in InDesign. They're like, hold on, wait. Do that again.
Right.
And so we went back, and it was like, oh, you didn't know that this tool or tip works. So this session is perfect for somebody who's like, I've seen it, but I don't know how to do it. Or there's got to be a way to do this more efficiently. There's got to be a way to get this across, or these little tips and tricks. So it is a tactile learning experience. I want everybody there with their laptops. I want everybody there with InDesign open, and I want you to bring your questions. This is not a strict curriculum. It is really like, throw everything at me, stump the chump, if you will, and
Yes.
let's learn together, right? So it is a collaborative learning environment, tactile, and my goal is that you walk away with at least one new tip and trick that's going to make your life a little bit easier as you're working in those programs.
That is so awesome. And by the way, the registration is still open for this workshop. So please, if you have the ability and the bandwidth to get to Amplify AEC a little early, and also I just love your energy and excitement about it. I think passion is so important, especially in a facilitator. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us today. And make sure to register for the workshop. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
So we're moving and grooving. We're moving. So our next guest is the principal and president of Reputation Inc., a public relations and content marketing agency serving B2B professional services firms, including architecture, engineering and construction. She has spoken at past SMPS conferences over the years and is a sought after speaker in the legal marketing industry, with several presentations at regional and national legal marketing association conferences. She also hosts the award-winning B2B podcast, Spill the Ink. She is revolutionizing marketing by the way she approaches email marketing. I'd like to welcome Michelle Calcote King to the AEC Unplugged.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Welcome, Michelle. I'm so glad to have you. And you are You know what? Before I go into the topic, because I'm so ready to just jump in. Okay.
I
So
know, I love your enthusiasm over email. So
yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of a nerd about it, but here we are. I feel like I'm in good company.
same.
So before we talk about emails, though, I want to talk about the B2B professional services industry. How did you find yourself in this particular industry and professional services?
Well, I've always been in marketing agencies. So I spent my whole career in marketing and PR agencies, and I just sort of gravitated toward B2B. So I started out in a tech PR agency in London right after college, and I was doing some consumer accounts, and I honestly, I just didn't like it. And I asked to be put on the B2B team, and have just stayed in B2B. And then throughout my career, I've stayed in B2B and got my first AEC account probably, I don't know, 18 years ago. And then when I started my own agency 13 years ago, I started it with an AEC client. So yeah, it's been, I love the substantive topics. I love the intelligent people. I love that it's impactful work. So it's just
Yeah.
stuff I love to do. So yeah.
No, I love it, and there's just so much. What I'm really grateful for is all the love of what people do. So that's just really,
Yeah.
really heartening. So let's talk about email because
Yeah.
clearly I've been too excited about all of that. And the reason why is because I've heard so many mixed reviews about
I know.
email,
Yeah.
specifically in AEC. So there's people that love email marketing, and there's people that like hate it. Why
Yeah.
do you think there's such strong reactions to email marketing in this industry?
Well, because a lot of people have abused it, I think a lot of people have abused people's inboxes. So a lot of people have felt the impacts of that. So when you've been spammed a lot, you start to hate it a little bit. And that's people doing it wrong, right? So, and also to do it really well it's very difficult. But it's the highest ROI of any B2B marketing channel. So, the data is there. But to get it right is a really difficult task. But it's such a shame when people don't take advantage of it, because it is so effective. So, I'm excited to present the webinar that I'm doing next week, because I'm going to walk through really kind of nuts to bolts how to do this and how to do it right. But I'm also going to lay out, why it is difficult to do right, and what a lot of marketers are missing by not engaging in it and doing it consistently. So
That's so great. And I want to highlight this comment from Gabe. Only true marketers can get excited about email marketing. So boom, we're true
so
marketers.
true. I
Yeah,
know.
we've done it. We've done it. So,
Yeah.
and again, I want to highlight this for the audience here. Michelle will be leading a SMPS HQ webinar that's happening next week. This is going to be May 16th, how to use email marketing to drive referrals. So last thoughts about what will you be covering in this webinar? I feel like you talked a little bit about it, but what can people expect to take away?
Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about things like, why email marketing. So I'm going to talk through kind of the stats. I'm going to talk about how it impacts things like referrals and repeat business. So we all know that in professional services, those are kind of the holy grail. And I'm going to walk through really kind of how it works throughout the process of the B2B sales cycle. And what it does specifically to kind of nurture your prospects. And then I'm going to talk about, what are the best practices? So if you want to take advantage of this channel, what do you have to do to get it right? And then what do I see are the most common mistakes? Because I talk to a lot of marketers. I do my podcast, so I'm talking to a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. I follow a lot of AEC firms. What are the most common things I see, people doing not right? And then I am going to touch on compliance, because, there are laws governing how we use this tool. And then I can't not touch AI. So there are some great AI tools out there that can help us be more effective. So I'll cover that a little bit. So.
Oh, this is going to be great. I hope that those watching, if you are available, that it will be recorded. So just register either way. You can watch it live, but that'll be a great time so you can actually chat with Michelle in real time. But if you can't, it's recorded and you will be able to just enjoy it just as much. So thank you so much, Michelle. Now, I want to bring all of our guests that we've spoken to so far, Gabe, Kimberly, Michelle. So I want to kind of close this before we go into bring in our another special guest. But what are some words of wisdom that you would like to share with AEC growth professionals? Gabe, I'm going to start with you. What words of wisdom would you share?
Yeah, I think building your network. Somebody made the comment earlier. They're a new SMPS member and they're excited about how we all care for each other and share information together. And if you're new or young in this industry, I say just take full advantage of this network that's available to you to learn, to grow, to cry on each other's shoulders, to celebrate each other's successes, and you'll find a nice long career.
That's great. Kimberly, thoughts?
Yeah, so in my bio, you heard that I've held a lot of different hats. And I find that this industry is so vast and diverse in what you want to do, that it allows you to really kind of stretch and grow. But sometimes people get stuck. They see it as maybe, very specific to one side or the other. And I think I always recommend for growth professionals that they think about their perfect day at work. What was it like? Was it that they were meeting people and they were communicating? Was it that they designed this really cool design piece? Whatever it is, and use that to foster your growth and kind of your path of what you really enjoy doing, because this industry is so fun and vast and diverse. There's so many different directions we can go into that we can get lost down the rabbit hole. But for each and every one of us, we're so individual in what brings us joy and what we really want to foster in our career, that we should be a little bit more self-reflective of what that looks like. And that'll help kind of guide that journey for you.
I love that. Thank you, Kimberly. And Michelle, what words of wisdom would you share with the audience today?
So, I'm going to talk about this in my webinar, but what I would like to share is shifting from a sort of one-off campaign mindset to more of an ongoing sort of media consistent mindset. So really kind of finding ways to deliver value and relevancy on a consistent basis to your audience. And I think that's where you build true relationships with your prospective clients, your teaming partners, and that's how you stay top of mind and you really truly build a brand, is by having that consistency in your marketing versus kind of thinking in terms of those kind of one-off campaigns. And email can be a real key part of that.
Oh, this is so great. Thank you all for joining. It was been great for the Revolutionizing AEC marketing. And thank you for being on the premiere episode and, totally not knowing what you were getting yourself into. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining. Now, before we close, I'd like to welcome a special guest for a quick reminder. So welcome Duncan Robertson from the Amplify AEC Planning Committee. Hello, Duncan. How's it going?
Danielle, I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. So look, we have Amplify AEC is less than, I think we're 80 days away at this point. So what can you share about what attendees can expect this year and your experience in being on the planning committee?
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience being part of the committee and seeing all of the work that goes in leading up to Amplify. And the last couple Amplifies have been so much fun, and I've learned a lot being on the attendee side. And so it's been fun to be able to be on the other side and see what goes into the planning. And so what I'm most excited for is all of the education. I think we have amplified the level of education. You've heard from these 3 industry professionals who are just a small snippet of the type of education that you'll see in Salt Lake City this summer. So I'm very excited for that. And then can't get off here without talking about Camplify.
Okay.
That's going to be a new experience, something that we haven't seen before, but I love networking, and I think that'll be a whole new twist on networking that you won't want to miss. So there's a lot more, but I'm very excited for Salt Lake City this summer.
I like how you just hinted at Camplify. So stay tuned for more from that. And thank you, Duncan. I will see you in Salt Lake City.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you. So look, we've done it. It's the premiere episode of AEC Unplugged. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you learned. I hope you not just learned and applied things, but was inspired. And that's what really this is all about. So thank you so much for joining. And we will be having our next episode on May 20th. We're going to be talking about mindful leadership and communication. I am really excited about it. So stay tuned. Follow SMPS on LinkedIn. You can follow me as well. I'm Danielle Gray, MBA, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining.